For today's episode, we're doing something a little bit different. I've got two guests joining me today. With me, I have Ava Johnson and Justine Allen. Both just completed their first year of college at Case Western Reserve University. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today.
Hey Gabby, thanks for
Hi.
having us.
How
Yeah.
are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. I just got diagnosed with a sinus infection low key yesterday, but I took a real deep 2.5 hour nap and I went skating and now I'm doing good. So if you hear me coughing, just maybe Gabby will edit that out.
I'm also doing good. I just not just I no, I did just finish homework for a class I'm taking over the summer. So I've burned 2 hours of my life doing math, which is a lot of fun.
What math class are you taking?
I'm taking Calc 2.
Oh, oh, Calc 2.
Whew.
Me and Calc 2. Oh, me and Calc
We'll see
2.
how
Do
it
I have
goes.
some stories?
I have
Mm-mm-mm.
my whole posse to help me out.
Well, I love that you mentioned that because that just leads us right into what we're talking about today. So we all just finished our first year at Case Western. We're all from New Orleans. We've all moved how many ever miles? Thousands? I think it's thousands. I don't know. Miles away from home. So how about you start us off, Ava? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Like you said, I'm Ava. I just finished my first year at Case Western Reserve, um, studying civil engineering with an environmental engineering sequence. I'm really passionate about the environment ever since junior year when I took an APES class, AP Environmental Science. I'm also minoring in Spanish, and I was actually able to go study abroad in Ecuador, and kind of immerse myself in that culture over the winter break. I really like creative outlets such as crocheting. I really like drawing. As I mentioned, I went roller skating. I like to roller skate and I like to exercise, move my body around and swimming. I'm kind of all over the place. I like to have an adventure and keep going and always be on the move.
Okay, question of interest. What is your favorite piece that you've crocheted so far?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I really like my first ever piece. You can actually see it back there. It's that orange. If you're on a podcast, you can't see it, but it's an orange, green, and yellow tote bag. And it was like my first piece I ever crocheted. I didn't have a pattern. I just went into it. If you're starting crochet, don't do that. It was not a smart tactic, but I just kind of went with it. I'm very persistent and I force myself to just finish projects. So, yes, that was my favorite project.
I could definitely testify of you loving crochet. Right now, me and Ava are planning to go to the Doja Cat concert, and
Woo!
she's crocheting my outfit. As
Literally
actually as we
same.
speak.
I always
But
need to move my hands.
yeah, how about you, Justine? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name's Justine. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a rising second year at Case Western and part of NOLA P6, which we already said. I am majoring in biomedical engineering, and one of the hobbies I love to bits is cooking. I cook all the time, and I get to do a lot more at home since I have my entire kitchen instead of my dorm and the limited supplies I brought over. It's great. It's so much fun.
What's your favorite thing that you've cooked?
Um, from I think precisely a week ago, I made homemade pizza for my family, and that is such a fun thing to cook. If you're okay at cooking and you want to do something to impress people, make pizza because it looks very difficult, but it isn't, and it's so much fun because there are parts that you, as someone who knows you're doing, can really get into at the same time you're making pizza with people. There's also a moment where everyone gets their own dough and gets to put their own spin on it. It's such a good collaborative way to cook.
That sounds so cute. I've recently seen a bunch of TikToks where people are making like the little heart pizzas, and I've seen where they spin the pizza. I think that's like my favorite part. Have I ever cooked a pizza? No. Like those little videos where they like spin the pizza and they toss it in the air. That is my most favorite thing in the world to watch. So definitely I
It's
can
so
imagine
much
you just like
fun.
tossing the pizza in the kitchen. Do you have an apartment next year? So you have a kitchen now or
uh, I do have a kitchen now. I have a suite, and I'm so excited to be able to cook now because I get to spend all my money on ingredients and make stuff. It's gonna be great. You guys are getting handmade food at our posse meetings now. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm excited. I love food. I love food. I love eating at those posse meetings. So I'm excited. Okay, so just jumping right in with our first question, whoever wants to take this first. What would you say was the biggest challenge that you faced during your first year of college?
I think for me, my biggest challenge my first year was sort of taking care of my health. I have, and most people sort of make their own systems at home. And I thought it'd be really easy to sort of just transfer over, keep what I'm doing at home and just do it in Ohio. But I had to redo a lot of the strategies that I use or update them for me living on my own instead of with other people. So so finding out that I wasn't in control of my health as I usually am, and then starting to fix it was definitely a bit of a challenge. I think the way I overcame it was honestly I reached out to our posse's mentor, Martha, who is my favorite human right now, and she was someone who helped me like make those new systems and hold myself accountable.
What about you, Ava?
I think for me, it was definitely the balance between social and academic life. I think that when I was home with high school, it was very separate. It was two separate lives. When I was in class, there was so much more structure than in college. And I was able to really differentiate my social life from my educational life. At college, though, because you're always with people and you're always near people, classes can be a lot more social and they can be a lot more about meeting new people. But it can be really difficult when one of those takes, when my academic life would take kind of a dip, then my social life, that's what I would really turn to. And my social life would take a dip, then I would turn to my academics. But it got really hard when the two of them took a dip at the same time. And it was really difficult for me to kind of balance the two and try to focus on both because college is not only about your academics, of course, it's also about meeting people, but you don't want to sacrifice one for the other. And I think that learning that balance is a really big challenge for me this year.
Yeah, I definitely relate with both of what you were saying. I think it also kind of ties together with just seeing you finding a new routine, almost finding a new routine that can be adaptable for Ohio college life. And, you, Ava, talking about finding a balance between the social and academic aspects. And I definitely relate with that. I think in high school, I was very academically oriented. I could definitely say I was not a sociable person in high school as much as I was in college. High school, I don't think I hung out with that many people outside of school often. Like if I hung out with you, it was because I was at a sporting event, volunteering event, whatever. And I think definitely a big change for me was adapting to that social and academic life, like you said, Ava. And also, I also relate to like taking care of myself mentally as well. Like, did I do that very well at home? Probably not. I think I was kind of forced to do it. I was in an atmosphere where I was forced to, take care of my mental and physical well-being in college. Of course, I had to learn how to do that. Of course, like when you're sick at home and you're sick in high school, your parents are there, your mom's there to, cook you chicken noodle soup, whatever she does. I can tell you, first week of college, I got COVID. No one was there to cook me chicken noodle soup. I was in a lonely dorm with nobody except myself and had to entertain myself. So I think that's a funny aspect of things of how I had to maintain my health. But I think, just turning to seriousness mentally, when like this relates with Ava talking about like a dip in academics. I've always strived to have great academics. So, when academics takes a little turn, it's kind of up to me to really figure out how to mentally heal myself and mentally prepare myself for that, I guess. But yeah, I think those are definitely two big challenges that I think any college, fresh college student can face. And I think it's also a challenge that can also prove to happen throughout college as well. Like it's not just, freshman problem, but also it could be a problem that you experience throughout college, like as a sophomore, junior, or senior.
To tack on to that, getting sick in college is something that you never planned for until it happened. Because I also caught like the flu during exam week, and oh my word, it is a challenge that I always forget happens until I get sick and I'm there in bed. And I don't know, man, that is such a tough time. How did you even manage the COVID on week one?
I don't know. Depends. Had I ever gotten COVID before that? No. And I really hated myself in that moment because I was like, I have made it 2 years, almost three, without catching COVID. And you tell me the moment I move away from home, I catch COVID. It was really shocking to me. I think Ava has a different story though, because Ava actually did catch COVID the same time I did. We caught it together. So
My bad. I think I gave it to you, Gabby. Maybe this goes a little bit further into other questions, but you will get sick. It is inevitable. You get sick, your friends get sick, everyone gets sick. You're all sick together. It is awful. Bring some ibuprofen. Bring that Mucinex. Mucinex was my bestie. I have never been so close with someone as Mucinex. Nasal spray and tissues. I think my roommate went through about 2 packs of like tissues a week. Like, bring all that stuff that you don't think you'll need it.
Identify your closest pharmacy. Because I got the flu and I got the flu during like the Tamiflu shortage, and finding a pharmacy with a fever is a challenge you don't think would be difficult until you have to do it. So really make your plans before you're sick or anything happens.
yeah, if anything, I don't care if you never got sick before. I could tell you I could count on one hand how many times I got sick in my entire 19 years on this earth. Well, 18 before I got to college. 18 years on earth before I got to college. That count really went up when I got to college. So definitely bring your little first aid, your little medicine cabinet bucket, because, by the end of the year, it will be drained. It'll be gone. So you'll need to replenish it every year, but definitely it'll be used. That is something you can splurge on because you're going to need it. So the Posse Foundation's kind of based on a student statement saying, I never would have dropped out of college if I had my posse. Would you say that Posse gave you a good support system throughout the school year, and as you navigated, the first time you've ever stepped foot in a college campus?
I definitely think that before stepping onto campus, Posse gave me a foundation that I could never have found anywhere else. I definitely was able to go into college a lot less worried about meeting new people. And who am I going to hang out with? Who am I going to sit with on my first day at lunch? Those fears of I have no one to hang out with and I'm moving across the country. Those were a lot smaller than I believe they would have been without my posse. I would say that throughout the year, I relied on my posse a little less as it went on, as I found more people. I found more routines and habits that worked for me. I knew that I always had people in my back corner, but as with any group of people, you become closer to some and you become a little less close to others. And I think that it was a really weird adjustment, kind of finding out that the people you go to college with in your posse, you're going to grow and everyone's changing. And sometimes you grow together and sometimes you grow apart. And I kind of felt myself really grow together and grow apart from a lot of different people in my posse. And I think that had I not had that foundation, just like that motto said, I think I would have had a really hard time moving across country, going out of state. But I am really thankful for my posse, not only for getting me where I am today, but helping me even start off on that foot.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience with Posse in the having just people that I know on campus. I know a lot of Posse people say that, but it is such a weirdly nice feeling of like knowing somebody. For the entire first semester, we in Posse 6 had this terrible creepy game where if we spotted someone on campus, we take a picture and send it to the group chat, and it's really silly and a little creepy. But sort of looking down at my phone and knowing that someone from home was like a block away from me at some time is really oddly comforting. Personally, I didn't have a tough time moving away from family, and so I'm happy that I didn't have that challenge. But the big thing that was hard for me was, like we mentioned before, in balancing social life and school life. For first semester, I really did sort of fall into the routine of go to classes, do homework, go to sleep, and rinse and repeat. And before I once again like grew and sort of found my own place, my posse was one time a week where no matter what, I'm going out. If it's like karaoke or skating or watching a show or a game or something, having one day a week where I know people are going to take me outside of my dorm or take me somewhere where I haven't been is a really nice, comforting thing that helped out a lot.
Yeah, and I definitely I was talking about this actually in our previous episode with Gabby, who's an incoming Posse scholar. And I was talking with her, I think Posse has been a really great time. Like, you're experiencing right now what I really value Posse for is just the foundation that they gave me. they gave me the tools before I even got to college, because I think that's where most of my fears lie. I think once you get to college, you're like, okay, it's not as scary as I thought it to be. But leading up these months leading up to going to college, you've you've got are your thoughts. You don't have anything else. You can look on Reddit, Google, anything all you want, but there's still going to be those thoughts and fears in your head. And I think Posse really diminished those fears, maybe just slightly. They're still prevalent, they're still there up until moving day. But knowing that I had 8 or 9 other people there coming with me to college was comforting, because I know for me, I I will never forget this word because of a PSAT, which is so random, but I consider myself an ambivert because I'm extroverted with people that I know, but I'm introverted when I'm like in a new space. Like I'll say hello, I'll be polite, but if I don't know you, you're gonna be like, oh my God, she's so shy. And I think that's what I knew that I wanted to go out of state. Like regardless of Posse, I knew I wanted to go out of state. Where I was gonna go out of state to, I don't know. But me and Louisiana we weren't twinning them. So I knew I would go out of state, but I knew if I didn't get Posse, I was like, ooh, meeting new people, that's really scary to me. But I think, having Posse and having this group of people that I know for sure, okay, even if everybody like points and laughs at me because I did something embarrassing, I know that hopefully these none of the people are gonna sit there and be like, no, Gabby's cool, like stay with her. I really do that.
Actually,
They
we
do,
do
they
point
do.
at you and laugh. We do point at you and laugh, but that's
But
okay.
in a loving and endearing way, guys. Let me just clarify that.
Also, I'd like to say that the older posses helped a lot with their transition. For example, Bernice, she went to my high school. I believe she's 2 years older than us. And she really helped a lot, not only with college students can tell you as much as they want, like about college itself, but telling you about the very specific college you go to, and telling you about the program and the organization you're going with. Like having that navigation through older students, especially from your area, is just something that's like irreplaceable that I was able to find within those older students that I really loved.
And I think that's what makes Posse so great. Like I know now it's like transitioning from not just being Posse New Orleans for Case Western, but also like Veterans Posse and Virtual Posse. But I think what made it really, really good was that it was a niche spot. It came directly from New Orleans. So it's like 9 times out of 10, the people in the older posses are going to be from your old high school. Like you mentioned Bernice. Bernice, like I went to both the schools that Bernice went to, I actually went to. So Bernice, it's very niche, but Bernice was able to like really just pinpoint it for me and able to be like, listen, you went through this school and you went through this school, and this is me now at this school, and this is how things happen, this is how you navigate. Hey, remember that experience in that school that was like a little so you're going to experience that here at Case. And I think that's what made Posse so great, is that no matter what high school you came from, no matter where, you still have, that advice from the older Posse, but you also have that piece of home. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't go up to like somebody that's from Toledo, Ohio, and be like, say a New Orleans reference, because they're not going to get it. But you could say it to somebody that literally lives 10 minutes away from you, and it's that little piece of home. And I think that especially works for, I had a couple of friends who were homesick, and I think that was something that helped them, was talk to these people that came from their hometown and talk about home. And I think that relieves the homesickness a little bit.
I could love on the older posses all day. Like Layla, I think she's one above us, or maybe two. She is fantastic. Like genuinely, I consider her one of my mentors. Just in the, like you guys said, someone understanding like culturally where you're from, but other things in that, like a lot of the older posses, because they've been here longer, are in a lot of clubs, and I never considered that until I'd go to a club. And entering a new club at a new school is the most terrifying thing ever. And going there and seeing someone who was on my scholarship and then sort of being there like, hey, you're going to be okay because I made it. And if I made it, you can make it, is so nice. I could love on the older posses all day. They're genuinely the best part of the program.
Yeah, definitely. I think just overall, I think that Posse has a really great message and really great foundation. They definitely give you the tools that you need to succeed. And I think by giving this older posse, these older people, the tools to succeed, in turn, they're giving you the tools to succeed, if that makes sense. Like I'm a strong believer in having a mentor and, learning from others. And I think that by, posse really instilling in these older posses like, hey, this is us, this is what we do. I think in turn that just sorts of creates a cycle for the new posses. Like definitely like Layla, I see her more times than I need to in a day, but I still remember her as like the first person that gave me a tour of campus. I like, I don't know, like seeing the older posses definitely, I think definitely is what I'm trying to say here is that posse gives the tools that you need. If not to you, they're gonna give it to somebody else in the posse. And that in turn is gonna give it to you. But so I think it's definitely a big cycle, and I'm definitely grateful and thankful for posse for seeing
Mhm.
where I am today. So, what is the biggest academic takeaway from your first year? I know we've talked a little bit about, academic dips and like coming back from that, but academically, did college like meet your expectations? Like, did you come into college thinking, oh, like academically, this is going to be so hard, but in actuality, you were like, this is kind of like high school. Like, what was the biggest takeaway you took from college from that?
Yeah, I definitely think that one thing that I had to really learn was that if it's not working for you, change it. You have the freedom to change things in college in a way that you didn't think, and in a way that you're not used to in high school. Um, there's not one way to study. Just because it worked for one test doesn't mean it's going to work for the next one. I think I had a really unique experience because I went into college in a humanities major. I did political science and environmental studies. I double majored in those when I first came in. In the second semester, I was doing civil engineering and environmental engineering. Clearly, they're very different paths. And I think that one reason that I thrived a lot in humanities because it was really similar to high school. So I think my first semester really met my expectations in the way that humanities was the only adjustment I really had to make was doing a lot of reading. But then we were able to talk about it in class and really divulge into the reading and get a really good understanding. So even if you didn't understand the content all the way, you were able to talk about it, get that one-on-one feeling with the professor that I was able to get in high school. And then our homework was typically essays or just a discussion in class. And I was able to really relate to high school, and that really met my expectations. But when I moved over to STEM, I think a really big issue is that students aren't experiencing the same thing in STEM that they are in high school, where you have these really long lectures, which typically in high school you don't have as much of. And then not only do you have those lectures, you're taking tons and tons of notes, and it's all this information. And then you have to go home that night and really apply it. And if you don't apply it, you're not going to be able to retain it. You can't just cram the night before. And I think that adjustment was just something I didn't expect. And I think that's why a lot of students think that STEM is harder than humanities, which is not true. I think they both have their difficulties and their ups and downs. And I think that was my biggest struggle, and that's how it didn't really meet up to my expectations. Was not everything is going to be the same. Just because I did good in one subject doesn't mean I'm good in the other. Just because I did good on one test doesn't mean I can keep doing that same thing. You really have to just work with what you're given and adjust. And if it's not working for you, work and find a new alternative, and don't just sit stagnant and let things rush over you.
Yeah, I had a pretty similar experience to Ava with my academic takeaway in that um, there's a lot of guess and check, I'd say, for studying techniques that work and don't work for me. And everyone sort of studies and learns differently. So little things like I tried out a bunch of different locations to study, and it took me forever to learn that I work really well with a whiteboard. Stuff like little things that you don't think that you don't really pay attention to until you're just trying stuff to see whatever you can do to help that subject click in. So just not thinking for some reason. And so taking the time to sort of learn how I study and also accept that I'm not going to study the same as my roommate or my posse or my friends or even someone in my same major is really important. It's really easy to compare myself academically to other people, especially to my posse, and think, oh man, they're doing good in this. Why aren't I doing good in this? And understanding that I'm going on a different pace or that I'm learning in a different way and so on and so forth. So I guess my big takeaway would be to prepare for the learning curve you're going to have with how you yourself learn. And it's okay to be in that curve. It's okay to struggle. Like sometimes you got to yank your grades up and sometimes things sort of land smoothly. And then I think college really met my expectations. I went to a really, really hard high school, which was insane. As well as I sort of hit the ground running and I found a degree program that I'm really, really comfortable in. So I spent a lot of time studying. Like Ava said, it is a lot of like take notes, go home, apply the notes instantly. But it's time doing something that I really enjoy, so it doesn't feel as bad as for me writing an essay is really difficult versus doing a lab report I can do with a lot of time but more comfortably.
Yeah, I really like what you said about preparing for the learning curve that may potentially be there. I think for me, just going into college, I was definitely I'm starting to realize I think I'm a really fearful person. I'm not like, phobia fearful, but I think, sometimes in my head I overthink a little about these things. And I think one of my biggest fears going into college was like, oh my God, what if it's so hard I like flunk out? Like I have a couple examples in my life where people are like, yeah, like kind of flunked out of college. And like, did I want to flunk out of college? No, I have these aspirations. I want to be, orthopedic surgeon. I want to work like, working with high school and higher level college athletes and, operating on them, on the musculoskeletal system. I know what I want to do and I'm passionate about it. And I know that the path to get there is not very hard, not very easy, not very easy, not hard. It's not very easy. And, I think even then, knowing that this is not going to be very easy and still, working my butt off and still preparing. And, I'm not going to lie, it was still really difficult for me. Definitely like struggled a lot. Like basic biology. Well, I'm not going to say basic, but biology, I did struggle in. Like that was a lot. Like you have a not even 90 minutes. It's like what, 75? I don't know how long it is. It's a really long lecture and you have all this information and like go home. Now you're gonna have a test. Okay, on what? You just gave me 50,000 different information. I don't know. You tell me. And I think I'm a very like structured person. I'm like, you've got to tell me A, B, and C per D, E, and F. And I can go home and I can perfect that. But if you just give me Z, X, Y, T, W, I don't know what to do with that. And I think that's where it took a lot of learning on my part to really figure out how to do that. And I can definitely say I'm still like working on that. I'm still like learning how to do that. And I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. Like I'm really thankful for the high school that I came from just because of, the curriculum and the teachings that it instilled in me, because I think I would have struggled harder had I come from, high schools that some of my peers have come from where they don't have like college prep courses or like they're not really prepared for the college level. But again, I think for listeners, I think a really big thing is even if you were prepared in the college level, I don't really care if your high school was called like Saint whatever college preparatory school. I don't think anything really prepares you for college until you get to college. That's just my take on it, honestly, because I think I was fortunate enough to have an education that really does prepare you, but I don't think anything's really going to prepare you for that level until you get there. And I think that's a really big takeaway I took from, my first year. Like I was really proud of like my 4 on AP Chem. And chem, okay, was easy. It was easy for me. It's easier for me to grasp chemistry than biology, but I still struggle in chemistry. Like, don't get me wrong. I still struggle in chemistry. Like, it doesn't really mean anything. So I know AP scores, when we're recording this, AP scores came out like yesterday, I think. But if you got a 5 on AP Calc, hooray. I'm not taking that away from you, but I am just saying that, it might be different. Just because we got a 5 in AP Calc doesn't mean we're going to get an A solidified in Calc 2. Who knows? It's just, I think it's a really big toss up. But I think academically, that is the biggest takeaway I took. Like, take what you learned in high school as a grain of salt, but also like what both of you said, like really adapting to your new environment. And really, I think, Justine, you said guess and check. I think that's a really big thing too. Guess and check. If this doesn't work, all right, on to the next. And Google is your best friend. Google is free. I always preach that. Google is free. And you can always Google new methods as well.
I think another thing too with like no matter what you do, a lot of people like look down on like an arts or humanities major and be like, oh, but that's so easy. College is hard, like in general, every single major is difficult. And I think I know, don't doubt yourself because you're struggling in a class. Like I got myself humbled hard by chemistry. And there's a really difficult sort of balance and mental game you have to play of like chemistry was hard, but there's a difficult balance that you do in college of this thing is difficult, and is it so difficult that I've decided this ain't it, or is it difficult but I'm okay with doing it? Like there's a lot of, when you get to college, especially Case is a big college that does this, there's a really big push on like declare your major as soon as possible. But remember, it's just a form. You can always change it. If something's hard and you are no longer enjoying it, you should still make sure that it's worth it in the end. Not in the, oh, I'm going to be really cool because I'm doing this difficult major. Like they're all going to be difficult. So make sure that the difficultness is worth the end goal that you have, Don't be scared or ashamed to jump around or change your mind.
Yeah, I definitely like that with, don't choose the most difficult major because most difficult. They're all difficult in their own way. But definitely really finding if this is a good difficult for you or like a get me out of here difficult. So I think that's also definitely a lesson I learned. Like I said, like I'm really passionate about what I'm passionate in. And I did struggle in, biology. And I think a lot of people did like question, they were like, if you're struggling in biology, how are you going to go to med school? And I think that's what people ask me. And I think the reason, I know the reason why I still haven't been like, yeah, forget this. I'm not pre-med anymore, is because I know that this is like, you can't have a good result, I don't think, without a little bit of struggle. And I think this is the little bit of struggle. It might be a lot right now. It's a lot right now, but I think down the road, once I get where I want to go, this is going to seem like a little minuscule little struggle. So I think it's really just deciphering your emotions about it. If you are like, bro, art history is literally so difficult. I don't know anything about the history of this painting. And honestly, down the road, I'm going to regret doing any of this. Then I think we should, switch gears. What else do we like? Hey, this political science sounds really cool. Let me see what it's about. I don't know what the first class is, poli sci 101, but I don't know what the first class is, but take that.
172.
Oh, well,
Well,
Ava knows. Ava
political
can tell you
science
all
is so hard. Political science is so hard. I'm telling you, I'm gonna bounce off you guys. If it is difficult to you in a way that if you think that you could sit down and fully apply yourself for 2 hours and not gain a single thing, get out. I'm so serious, get out. Political science sounded so interesting to me because I like politics and I like talking about the government, but so much more goes into it than you really realize. And, I shied away from engineering. So I was like, oh my God, I can't do calc. I can't do calc. Turns out I can't, but I did it anyways. You just have to kind of force yourself to do things sometimes, whether you like it or not. I found that like with calc, if I sat down and really applied myself for 2 hours, I would get somewhere and I'd enjoy it. It was so much more different than me with political science. Like theoretically, I'm like, I'm not going to enjoy calculus. But once you sit down and apply yourself, if you find yourself enjoying it, then yeah. So you got to give things a chance. But once you've given it a chance, move on. I think that was really important for me to learn is that everything deserves a chance, but it doesn't deserve a second chance. You give it that one chance, it doesn't get you where you need to go, move on. You can move on. You can afford to do that in college.
Your losses before, like that's too late, and you've wasted like, I don't know, 40K. So
Oof.
kind of think of it I hate to say it like this, but think of it in terms of money. That's what I do. I'm like, okay, listen, is this class worth how much ever thousands of dollars of money I'm probably paying for it? It's not. Bye. We're cutting our losses and moving on. I think that's a big theme of college. Your losses and move on. In anything, really, you scored bad, your losses and move on. Find something different to do in order to study. Cut your losses, move on. I think that's the biggest takeaway academically, I say. But I think, in our conversation, we've relied heavily on academics, which I think definitely while listening to us, I think we might give like the perspective, oh, we're all work, no fun, which is not true at all. So how about in other aspects besides academics, like socially, in terms of, social scene and I don't know, eating, food, any other categories, did college like meet your expectations in terms of that?
I'll be so real. I did not think much of the social scene or food or exercise going after college. I was just so worried and focused on the adjustment of just being away and academics that I kind of let my diet and my exercise kind of fall off a little bit. And I think it was really hard for me to get back on that wagon. Now I'm at a place where I'm working out almost every day and I'm really focused on what I'm eating and how that's the best working for me. But I think in college it's so hard to focus on your diet. I'm pescatarian, so I was a little bit focused on it with the not eating meat aspect, but I was really just like, I'll just eat pizza today and I'll have my ice cream dessert. Eat whatever you want, do that. But when it's paired with me not going to the gym and me just sleeping loads of hours, excess sleeping, I wasn't feeling great. And it wasn't about like my looks or anything vain. I didn't feel great. I wasn't at the top of my peak. I wasn't at my peak. And I was really focused on I think I really hit a point in about October, November, where I was like, I'm really gonna get back on my game and get a gym buddy. Y'all get a gym buddy. Gym buddies are the best. Get someone that's gonna wake up at 6 a.m. with you. Will I be there? Probably not. But get someone that's gonna wake up with you or be up at late going to the gym with you. It really helps a lot. I think socially, meeting my expectations. College, I like to toot my own horn and say I can read people pretty well. If you trust your gut, trust your gut. If someone says something that throws you off and makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to hang out with them. You do not owe anyone anything. The only person you owe something to is yourself. If someone makes you feel like crap, move on. You can come back to them if they change their ways. You can give people as many chances as you want, but you need to give time between those chances. You can't just give chance after chance after chance. There's only so much of you can give. And I think that was really hard for me to learn this year was that you can't just keep giving and you can't keep apologizing when you shouldn't be apologizing. You can't keep giving forgiveness to people that haven't changed their ways to earn that forgiveness. Your dynamics with people, it's going to be really odd and you're going to learn so much about these people because you're living with these people. You're seeing them every single day, whether you want to or not. You see them. And I think case is many people say it's big, but it's small. I think our class is about 1,500 people. It is small, you guys. It is so small. You say be genuine to who you are, but never be at a point where you can't look someone in the eye and have a conversation with them. Some awkward interactions. I ended up having a job interview with someone that was a little awkward. And you know what? I have to be professional about it. So never reach a point where you can't sit down and have a conversation with someone. Never let a relationship get so bad where you can't say hi to them in the hall. You have a right to cut everyone off, ghost who you need. Speak up for yourself, but don't do it in a way that's going to burn a bridge for you. Every interaction with someone, it'll get around. It'll get around, guys. It'll get around. I think just let yourself navigate the best way you know how, and don't think about it as one all end all, and also don't think about it as I don't know, like if an interaction is bad, they don't have to be your friend, but they also don't have to be your enemy. You just move on because that's not the person for you. And I think that was really important.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think definitely that was a big lesson I learned this year too. Like going in, I I honestly don't know. Maybe it's just because it seems so far away and like it was a year ago now that I don't really know what I expected. But I think looking back on the year, I don't think I expected as much. I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. As much turmoil and unnecessary drama that there was socially for me. Like, of course, yes. I think looking back every couple of years, I have a little, a little drama, because who doesn't have a little drama in their lives? It's just inevitable. But I think the amount of drama that there was in my life this year in terms of socially, I don't think I expected that. But I think it is the way that you navigate it. I think that's definitely a way to navigate it is definitely something that I took away from this. How I navigate relationships with other people and social situations now, a year ago, I can tell you for sure I would have not have navigated that. Like you're talking about like, burning not burning bridges and things like that. A year ago, I would have burned a bridge. I would have definitely let you know, yeah, no, we're not doing this today. You're cut. You're on whatever Abby the Miller says. You're done. I don't know what she says, but oh, Abby the Miller doesn't say this. Gordon Ramsay does. You're on the chopping block. Yeah, boom, done. But now I think I I I think what Ava just said. I think that's a really big takeaway that I have also as well. Just leaving with grace. A simple unfollow on Instagram will do, people. Just unfollow and move on with your life. Like Case is not a large school. Like they say it's a medium-sized school and numbers wise it is, but everybody really. Like I'd like to say that I know pretty much everyone. Maybe it's because of my position in COC, but I'd like to say that I know pretty much everyone. If I don't like know you, I know your name. I've seen your name somewhere. So definitely if you haven't like even if you haven't interacted with this person, there's very strong chance that that person has either heard of you or knows someone that knows you and therefore knows you. So I think definitely learning how to navigate socially and with friends is a big takeaway that I took, especially.
After listening to you two go, I'm realizing I was not very social. With my first bit at college, like I think in general, mentally for me, I sort of divide my life into like academics, social, diet, exercise. And for semester one, I was going all in on like academics and diet. I am also a pescatarian. And so like finding a vegetarian option on campus, if you're picky, is kind of difficult. And so I did spend a lot of time um, either like making sure my grades were okay, and then genuinely I just cooked. I enjoy cooking, so it wasn't a pain for me, but I spent a lot of time like cooking and doing homework. And I think a big lesson I learned was I hit second semester and I was like, I want to talk to people other than my roommate and I want to make friends. And I felt like I was really late to everything. So I was joining all of the clubs second semester, or maybe even a quarter of the way through second semester for some of them. And a really difficult thing for me to understand that I still sort of struggle with is that they're happy to have you there anyways. Like, yeah, you might have missed the semester one, but there are still people coming in on semester two. And most clubs are happy to get new members. They're there because they have a common interest and they like talking about that interest with somebody. So I think a difficult thing for me to understand was college isn't high school. I'm not late if I join something second semester. Like it's divided semesters for reasons. There are always new people joining. So then I also sort of got my life together second semester, where now I'm in a bunch of clubs and I love all of them. It's a lot more fun to have a place where I go and talk about a thing or do a thing. And then another thing that's not touched on is, or not that's not touched on, that people forget to talk to me about, or that I forget to bring up, is exercising in college. I don't think about it as much as I should. And I think a big thing is remembering that exercise sort of looks different for everyone. I can't stand going to the gym, it makes me anxious. But I still exercise with other means. Like if there's a sport club they think is a lot of fun, like I joined the figure skating club here and I've been skating once a week and that's how I get my exercise. And if you're happy and you're moving, that's all that really matters. So understand that if you're like, man, I can't stand the gym, exercise does not start and end at the gym. There are other ways to stay fit on campus. Even if you're just like walking campus, that's great. Safely, if you're walking campus safely.
Let me just say, walking to class is exercise. I don't care. But definitely, I think exercise comes in many different ways, shapes, forms. Ava goes to the gym. I was occasionally her gym buddy. I'd sometimes wake up, she wouldn't be there, but that's okay.
Oh,
Just talking about the figure skating club, I did eye that club. I did look at it and say, I want to figure skate. Did I join it? No. But listen, what they tell you in elementary school is that it was like 60 minutes, I think, of just moving your body, elevating your heart rate. Like that's what we learn in like track. Like our rest days are like, listen, you're putting in active recovery workout if your heart rate is above 110. So if your heart rate's at 111, that's all you got to do. So I think exercise, I think when you think of it standardly, people automatically think of like running or like sports or organized sport. But I think exercise comes in different ways. And I think exercise is important, especially in college, because it's so easy to neglect yourself. I think it's a part of like your health, overall health in general. But I think it's so easy to neglect. Like even if that's, walking to class. Walking to class is so simple and easy. That's a great form of exercise. If you have like an Apple Watch and you time yourself like going to class or whatever, it raises your heart rate. Like I have a thing automatically on my Apple Watch where it's like it detects where I'm going when I'm exercising. Every day when I walk to class, it tells me, are you working out? No, I'm walking to class. Thank you. So
y'all have not
definitely
seen Gabby walk. Y'all have not seen Gabby walk. Gabby walked like she's a stormtrooper, powering through everyone. Of course, it's an exercise. I bet everyone around you's heart rate is up because they're like, "Whoa, move out of her way." Now,
I
I
don't
do say if you wake up late and you're late to class, you'll get a workout. You'll get a real good workout running to class. Never run with a backpack on. You'll look goofy. But if you walk fast, you'll get that workout, y'all. You'll get that workout.
the calves will be
Oh,
incredible.
oh yeah. Most ridiculous exercise I've seen consistently is there's a cafe that I love. They just have like an egg and cheese bagel and a good tea there, and I love it. And I kid you not, it's a mile from where I live. So I would genuinely, honest to God, wake up and walk a mile to get breakfast, and I wasn't clocking it as an exercise until I checked my phone, and it was like, where have you been going? Like little things like there are also ways to get exercise in where you're not thinking about exercising, and that works for me really well. If my brain's like, oh, let's go get this bagel, and then we realize that we did a very fast mile for a simple bagel.
You know what? That's okay. I think that's just really a testament of exercise can be anything. If you want to there's a lot of like, I noticed in college campuses, there's a lot of yoga classes. I wanted to say Pilates, but I don't think Pilates is on college campuses. But I know at Case, there's a bunch of different like fancy gyms. Like there's one fancy gym where I'm like, I know they have Pilates. So if do I recommend joining a gym around campus? No, because you have a gym membership with your college campus, so don't waste your money because we're broke and poor. No, but definitely take advantage of all these activities that your college campus has, like yoga or kickboxing. Anything that sounds remotely interesting, join it. Like there's a lot of things. If I wasn't held down by track and how I can't join anything else like in that nature, I I would have been a figure skater, a boxer. I would have been a lot. I would have been a lot. So definitely take advantage of those.
There's a swing dancing club here. I went to one meeting with a friend as exercise buddy, but man, it's a trip.
Colleges, they have crazy clubs, and it's a little overwhelming at first, but join what you find is interesting and then go from there, I think is the biggest thing. So we've talked a lot about takeaways and what we've learned from this learning experience of first year. What advice do you have for the upcoming class of 2027, either at Case or our local college, Tulane, or any other colleges in the United States or anywhere?
Personally, some advice I have for people, incoming college students, this is really Posse specific, but the minute I got on the Case's campus, I forgot there was like a Posse headquarters back home, and the people there are still doing so much to help you, even like like Gabby said, miles and miles and miles away. My biggest example is for the Career Center. I talked to Miss Justina, who's the policy career person here, and she's super helpful in ways. And of course, I thought like, oh, my college has a Career Center. I don't need to do both. But if you have both resources, it's really, really helpful to use both those resources. Use everything you have, because this is difficult and people are here ready and willing to help you. So I think a really good thing is to use your resources back home, use your posse resources, and at the same time, also use your resources on campus. It's so nice to be able to have two people doing the same thing because they have such different perspectives. Like the posse career person knows me a lot better than the career person here at Case because I've talked to her more. She saw me at the end of high school and has seen me go through college. And so she's able to help me out with a lot of things of understanding local places where I'm at home and with my family, and understanding some skills that I have in high school that I forget how to implement. And at the same time, the career person here at Case helps in her own way because they know me as I am in college. They see me in the present and the classes I'm taking specifically. And once again, they know those skills that I've gained that I'm not really thinking about because, yeah, I took a lab. What's lab experience for? Stuff like that. So there are always people around ready to help you. Do not doubt their kindness or say, no, you don't need to. I got this. Because they're already here.
I have like so much advice I could give. I'm gonna be so real. I learned a little too much at college, honestly. Biggest thing, go to class, y'all. Go to class. Literally do anything that will get you out of bed. Whether it's you're walking a mile to go get a bagel, like Justine, or I love dressing up to class. Class is my fashion show. Dress up. Dress up. Some people show up in sweats. If that's you, do you. But I'm personally I'm gonna wear whatever I want and I'm gonna dress up. Dressing up gets you to class. I go to bed thinking about what I'm gonna wear the next day. It really gets me to roll out of bed. Those 50 minutes in that class, even if you're not paying attention, even if you're playing your little New York Times crossword puzzle like I am, um, you'll have some information coming in no matter what. Also, if you play the New York Times crossword in class, put your volume down because it plays a little music at the end. And if your volume's all the way up like mine, your teacher will know. Also, sit at the front of the class. Um, I would not pay attention if I'm in the back. I get there early, 15 minutes early on that first day of class, and I sit in the front. College does not have a assigned seats, but basically where you sit's where you sit. So sit in that front seat. Don't take other people's seats. That's rude. What else can I advise? If you're gonna go out, always have people that you trust. Don't go out with people you don't trust. Don't go out with groups of people less than 3 people. You will not be safe. Get one of those little phone wallet things to put your key card in the back of. Don't lose your key card. I did that on my first day of class. It was embarrassing. My roommate has spent $50 getting replacement ones now. Um, let's see what else. Oh, your roommate, literally get along, do whatever you can to get along. Because if you're not getting along with your roommate, it's so awkward. My roommate and I are really close, but because of that, we had arguments. And there'd be nights where she'd just go and like sleep on the floor somewhere else because we would have fights. And it was awkward. It's awkward. Talk it out. Go into college being able to communicate. So many people cannot communicate. And I literally want to lose my mind. I don't like the word confrontational because it's often used in a negative connotation, but I'm going to say confrontational in a positive way because if something's bothering me, I'm going to speak about it very respectfully and in an adult way. And some people are not capable of that, and you really have to learn that communication literally could solve, in my opinion, about 98% of conflicts in this world. And if you go into college knowing how to communicate, speaking up, advocating for yourself and others, then you're genuine and no one can be upset with you for talking about what's bothering you because at the end of the day, they're just really upset with themselves that they can't do that themselves. Anyways, I spoke a lot, but I would say biggest takeaway is just live how you feel comfortable. Don't let other people ruin your comfort and your peace. Um, be in your healing era. Just live life for you. You're not living life for other people. You're not there for your parents. Class is expensive, y'all. Go to learn. Don't just go to go. Go to learn. Each class is probably like $100. So think about it like that. You'll be good.
Ava just has so much advice. She could start her own little book, her own little podcast, actually, and just talk about her advice.
I had chemistry with Ava, and she was not joking. Genuinely, I felt awful because we sat by each other, and I'm there in a fine outfit, and Ava shows up looking fantastic, and she's not kidding. It's a very cool thing. Also, if you get along with your posse person, you have the same class together, don't be afraid to like be friends with them in that class. Like, if you get along with them, you already know enough about them, they can help you out. Ava's helped me with chemistry a lot. When I was struggling.
Y'all, make a friend in every single class. It could just be you could literally just say hi to each other on the street, but make at least one friend in every single class, get their phone number and text them. Literally, you could just like my first semester, I had a friend in every single class, and it helped me bunches because I would get notes. And then my second semester, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm in a new major. I'm so confused. Once I made at least one friend in each class, it is so much easier. And it is as simple. I know it's like I get anxiety and I overthink. So like I'll sit there thinking like, how am I going to say hi a million times? But once you just say like, hey, what's your name? Yada yada yada. Can I have your phone number? It doesn't have to be like in a weird way. But I have like so many new phone numbers. Am I ever going to talk to them again? Probably not. Some of them I'll talk to again, but they help me in the time and I help them. Always share your notes, be helpful. Yeah, it's the best. Gets you to class too because you're like, oh shoot, that person's going to be there. Like, let me make sure like I'm actually there if they need notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually got asked this question for posse at the end of our year, like our last big meeting. We got asked, what's your advice for upcoming class, or like what was your takeaway? I don't know. But I remember it was a laughable moment. Everyone laughed. I'd like to say because I'm a funny person, but who knows? Um, I said, when you come into college, you know nothing. And, people laughed. And I said in that moment, I'm dead serious, guys. When you come to college, you don't know anything. As far as you're concerned, you're dumb. You don't know anything. And I want to stick with that, but I want to elaborate because was that very blunt to say? Yes. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying come into college like you are a newborn baby. You know absolutely nothing. So don't be afraid to ask questions. See, that is the perfect segue into that, I think, by pretending like you don't know anything, because then you can ask all these questions. Don't have shame in asking questions. I think in my first semester, I I'm a firm believer in bringing shame back a little, but I think that I had a little bit too much shame. And definitely the person I was at the beginning of the semester, the person I am now, some things I've done where I should have had a lot more shame, but I don't. I just
I
kind
can
of
attest
move
to
on.
that, y'all. She needs more shame.
Yeah, it's some things are really embarrassing. And do I feel the embarrassment? Yes, but also I move on. I'm like, whatever. I should have shame for this, but I don't. And I think just in like any stance, anything socially, academically, anything in college, you don't know anything, ask a question. Like Ava was talking about, ask a friend, find a friend in any class. I don't know you, so I'm gonna ask you a question. Oh my gosh, you know what's going on in this class? Boom, you have a friend. Because the friend's like, I don't know either. And you bond on that. And then outside of class, y'all get together and have a little study session. And it's perfect and it's good. Is it gonna end up like that? Maybe not. I can't predict the future, but that's a good jumping off point, I think. But I think I really believe in you don't know anything, so ask any and every question that you possibly can. Now, don't ask a question like I don't know. I don't know an example at this current moment, but definitely pretend like you know nothing so that you can ask everything. And I think that's a pretty good motto to live by in life, and I think you'll go pretty far with that. Now, can I provide an example of it working in my life? No, not really, but we're working on it. We're working on it. But I think that's my biggest advice for the upcoming class. To have fun. Have fun. I think I forgot that a little bit in first semester. Like, I think I had a little couple events that scared me a little. I was like, so definitely Even though it scares you a little, still go for it. Have fun. Come back and go for it. Just live, laugh, love.
Also,
Yeah.
respect your professors. There is nothing cute in disrespecting these professors. I'm so sorry. If I hear one more person loudly talking and laughing in the middle of a lecture, you can be there. I'm there. I'm not always paying attention. I'm gonna be so real. Like I said, I like my New York Times crosswords. I like my Agario when I'm really, really bored. But you know what? Like, I'm not gonna be disrespectful to this professor. You can be as bored as you want. You can be sleeping if you really want, but don't be laughing, giggling with your friends in the back. Don't be loudly packing up so that your professor hurries the class up a little bit more. Have some respect. These professors probably have PhDs. They worked hard to be here. No matter how annoying, how boring, how rude, how bad of a teacher they are, have some respect. And at the very end of the day, if you want to be selfish, think about it. They can give you a recommendation letter. So be respectful. Sit in the front of the class. That'll help you. I promise. They get to know your face. Yeah.
An interesting thing, I took a intro to programming class last semester, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, but I did not really understand a lot of the content, and I was so scared to ask questions in class because it felt like everyone there knew more than me. And I am a big fan on taking your anxieties and challenging them, but I also recognize, as someone with anxiety, that sometimes we lose. And I think if you really cannot, for the love of God, bring yourself to ask that question, like I couldn't in my programming class, ask it in private. Like your teacher has office hours, and there's literally just you and the teacher. Even if you can't do that, send an email. But I think even if it's difficult to ask those questions that you're certain are dumb, going to office hour or like sending that email and prioritizing that you still get that question answered no matter what, I think is more important than anything, especially because there's so many ways to do it in a form that's comfortable for you. So even if this main way doesn't work out, try different things until you find something that hurts a little less. And also, they know you well in office hours. My programming teacher knows my full name. He knows what I look like. That was a lecture class. Like,
You get a nice friend from it, from going office hours. So I think that is all that I had. Is there anything that either of you would like to just add as a final remark?
I would say that everything that we have said, take with a grain of salt because college is unbelievably unique for every single person. I had a lot of issues with a lot of different things, and you're gonna have a lot of issues with a lot of different things, but they're gonna be completely separate things. You're gonna be living a completely different life. Don't neglect your parents. If you have a good relationship with your parents, call them. Call your parents. Call your at-home friends. If you like them, I get if you don't. College is a time for transitions and changes, and you have to understand that everyone is living such a different life that you can't base your life and compare it on other people. You know, there are times where I look at other people, I'm like, oh my gosh, I like wish I could be like that. And then I find out something, I'm like, oh, never mind, I don't want to be like you. You know, everyone lives so differently, and there's so much stuff you just don't realize is happening, y'all. You just don't realize. Social media is fake, life is fake. Just do you. This is a really bad piece of advice now that I kept talking, but just just keep going, you know. Learn to write an email, y'all. That's all. I'm done now.
I'm
I'm
telling
going
you,
to
a book is
echo.
coming soon.
It'll be a good book. To echo Ava, mostly like, yeah, you do you. College is a really individual thing. Comparing yourself to your friends, even your posse, because posse gives a big impression of like, oh yeah, we're all from the same place, we're on the same playing field. You're gonna pace differently than your posse. Everyone is, I promise you, so different. So do your own thing, accept advice, but recognize that not everything works for everybody, but still try it anyways. And also, I really did genuinely forget to have fun for a while while I was in college. I was so focused on school. You live there full time. You should enjoy your time there. I can't imagine going to college and hating every minute. I think that's not worth the money that you are spending in that area to go somewhere and just be miserable. And I think my last thing too is to take your time. A lot of people in my family, it might be a southern thing, will always say, oh, I remember just yesterday when you were a baby, and then, really soon you're going to be a sophomore, and then a junior, and then a senior, and then you'll graduate and have a job. Take life a day at a time, an hour at a time, a minute at a time. The future will come, but it's not here right now. And if you spend so much time in the future, you're not going to see where you are now. So embrace those little tiny moments. Laugh at your friend who walks at the speed of sound to class, or the one who walks a mile to get a bagel, or have a good time with the person who dresses up really, really well for every class. Because those are little moments that keep you in the present, and I think are important, that are really easy to forget in the rush of, I'm going to college to get a job, to get a house, to get a whatever.
I like that. Yeah, I know I personally think a lot about the future, and I'm a person that's like, dear God, please hurry up. Please, please give me that MD, and I think sometimes I just need to take a step back and be like, thank God I'm 20 something, pushing 20. I'm having the time of my life. And I think this is how sometimes you just need to live sometimes. Just enjoy the present, live in the present. Don't think about the future too hard. Think about the future, but not too much, all the time where it consumes you. But yeah, thank you two so much for joining me for this episode. I really appreciate having you guys on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Gabby.